common sense recap of the day's biggest stories. It's John Catsimatidis and Rita Cosby. Katz and Cosby on 77 WABC.
Now joining us is John Lauro. He is President Trump's attorney. He is the co-counsel on the January 6th case, right in the heart of what happened, of course, today. John, we are so happy to have you here on Katz and Cosby. We continue. This is Rita Cosby. We also have Judge Richard Weinberg in studio, Tony Carbonetti also in studio, and John Katz also joining us on the phone. John, your reaction. I played Rocky's music at the top because this was an enormous victory for you and for President Trump. Your reaction?
What an incredible decision by the Supreme Court. Just an amazing decision. And a victory not just for President Trump, but for the American people and the American presidency. And more importantly, we had a very, very skilled decision by Justice Roberts, where he basically said, listen, we're not going to have a system of government where one administration gets to politicize and weaponize the criminal justice system to go after a political opponent. That's just not going to happen. And with respect to activities that a president takes that are constitutionally required, absolute immunity, which is what President Trump has been saying all along. And then as to another bundle of official acts that a president takes in connection with being president, presumed immunity. So it was just an outstanding decision. But most importantly, it protects the presidency and it protects the American people.
And everybody, we are talking here on Katz and Cosby to John Lauro, President Trump's attorney, right in the thick of it there on the January 6th case, one of the co-counsels. Wow. We're thrilled to have you here on such a big news day. Judge Weinberg.
John, congratulations on this victory. I thought what was very interesting, and I was looking at it, was a concurring opinion of Justice Clarence Thomas, who pointed out there's a whole big issue with respect to the appointment by Garland, the Attorney General, of Jack Smith to even prosecute these cases. What are your thoughts about that?
I was struck by that, and he went out of his way to make that point. It's much more impactful in the case in Florida because the 11th Circuit has not ruled on that issue. Unfortunately, in D.C., the D.C. Circuit, which is dealing with my case, has ruled that a special prosecutor is constitutional. However, that may require a second look now in light of Justice Thomas. What Justice Thomas is saying is really common sense. Everybody who has a high position in the Justice Department, heads of the Civil Division, Office of Legal Counsel, Criminal Division, they get approved by the Senate. Who approved Jack Smith? Do we know? I mean, was it Joe Biden? Was he competent at the time? I mean, it raises a bunch of questions, doesn't it?
Well, and what's interesting, what's interesting is you have one decision out of the D.C. Circuit, and if you have the judge in Florida who rules to the contrary, and that's affirmed by her Court of Appeals, then you can have conflicts in the circuits about the appointment authority, aren't you?
Split in the circuit gets us right to the Supreme Court. Absolutely. So that issue is there. I would say, as a result of today's decision, it raises more questions than it answers in terms of whether or not this case should even go forward, particularly during a political campaign. And that's going to be an issue that the current Justice Department and the Biden regime are going to have to face. Do they really want to continue with this case in light of an ongoing presidential campaign? And really, we should keep the criminal justice system out of politics. And they have a chance to do that now in light of this decision.
And everybody, we are talking to Trump attorney John Lauro here on Katz and Cosby. John, I have two questions for you. One, I've been watching, obviously, all the legal experts all day. I've been glued because we knew the decision was coming down. And everyone's essentially saying the chances of the 1-6 case, I hear you're going, obviously, to the aspects of the special counsel or not, but just overall now, regardless, they're going to have to send it back. Is it an official act? Is it not official act? It seems by most legal experts that the chance of the January 6th case against Trump by Jack Smith before the election is none. Is that right?
Well, let me put it this way. There's so much to do now with respect to this case. I think it's going to take months, if not more than a year, to sort it out because the court below is going to have to deal with official versus unofficial acts. The loser of any decision in the court below gets to appeal to the D.C. Circuit. I think we're looking at, a stream of litigation lasting many, many months. And can't, in my judgment, I don't see how it can be completed before November.
And then you guys also, you're on the 1/6 case, the January 6th case. There was a big win last week with that other defendant, remember, on that case on the obstruction issue. So you guys have had like two huge wins. I mean, there are so many issues now.
It's the 1-2 punch. That was the Fisher case, which said basically you can't use the obstruction of justice statute with respect to protests that are at the Capitol. And interestingly, in our case, Justice Roberts this morning said the Judge Chutkin, the district court, may want to revisit that issue of whether obstruction even applies to President Trump. So we're dealing with just an array of complicated legal issues. The other thing I want to mention, very, very important, critically important, the Supreme Court wants these matters handled deliberately, appropriately, and with as much argument and legal analysis as possible. The Supreme Court does not want to rush to judgment. I think it's been so terrible, the criticism of Judge Cannon in Florida, who's doing a great job proceeding deliberately and carefully. And, you see many of these pundits going off on her, and I think it's just outrageous and sad.
Have you talked to President Trump, obviously, today? And what was his reaction, John?
Well, let me say, he called me just 30 seconds ago, and I have to admit, I didn't take his call because I didn't want to take our call.
Oh, my God. Well, you got to tell him we said congrats.
My client is calling me, and I'm not responding to him, so I just wanted to let you know that.
Don't bill him for this hour.
Well, please tell him we said congrats. Before we let you go, John, and you may have also looked at this. This is interesting. I was looking at former federal prosecutor Andrew Chukasky earlier today, and Andrew actually said that even this decision that happened today, even though it's about whether it's official or unofficial acts, there may be some creative way that this decision helps with the sentencing for that's happening on July 11th, which is next week in the state case, the New York state case. That's interesting. I mean, I'm sure you guys are great attorneys, but I'm sure you're looking at a whole bunch of avenues now that this may be a huge win beyond even what's, in the January 6th case.
Well, let me put it this way, and this really applies to the state cases. I just hope one day this lawfare business is over and we get to decide presidential elections at the ballot box rather than in the jury box, where it should be, in the ballot box. And let's hope that New York State case is quickly overturned.
Yeah, wow. Well, please tell the president we apologize that we delayed your call with him.
I'm going to blame it all on you. I hope that's okay.
That's okay. He's known us for years, and give him our best and a huge congrats too.
I will.
Please. Thank you, John.
Absolutely. Take care.
Great to have you here. Wow. Wow.
Janine Pirro here for Colonial Metals Group. Colonial Metals Group helps Americans protect their future with the most trusted store of wealth in human history, physical gold and silver. If you're retiring or retired, go to colonialmetalsgroup.com/Pirro for your free Janine Pirro Colonial Metals Group Retirement Protection Kit, or call 800-965-8004. 800-965-8004 now to receive a free home safe and up to $7,500 in free silver.